Welcome to Why Though the Podcast.
We did it!
Baby!
Hello?
Hello.
Hello! Destiny Johnson!
Lizzy Acker, how are you?
I'm pretty good. We're here in the studio. The Super Bowl was yesterday.
It sure was.
You covered the Super Bowl. I used to have to do that, and I don't anymore. So I watched it, though. There were a lot of children running around, so I didn't see much.
Yeah.
And I also don't like football.
Yeah, I don't like football.
Yeah.
In fact, my roommate who does welcome to Why Though the Podcast.
Yeah, welcome to Why Though the Podcast.
Welcome to Why Though the Podcast. Welcome back.
Uh-huh.
My roommate who does like football, at one point said, "What's the score?" And I said, "I have no clue."
No idea.
Because I'm not covering that part of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know?
Also, to be fair, every time I looked at the score, I was like, "That is no one scored a touchdown."
Yeah.
It took a while for that game to get interesting.
Yeah.
It was at the end, I guess. Though by the time it got really interesting, I had to put my kid to bed, so I missed the end of it, like the overtime part.
The Gatorade was purple.
Oh, it
A lot of
was.
people wanted to know.
Yeah. What do you think of the halftime show?
Good.
Usher.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about that
Okay.
later.
Okay.
So we
Well,
can chat about
we'll
that
talk
later.
about that later.
But just in case you're listening for the first time, this is Why Though the Podcast,
Yeah.
where we take Lizzy's. This is Lizzy.
I'm Lizzy.
Her critically acclaimed, in my opinion, advice column, and turn it into this very podcast that you're listening to.
Yeah, that's why we're here,
Yeah.
and we just also like to talk about things because we're
true.
friends, and the world is interesting.
It sure is. And if you want more of Lizzy's great advice, she's a professional advice giver, so you should probably listen to her. You can go to OregonLive.com/whythough, WHYTHO.
Yeah, find all the columns
Yeah.
and the past episodes of this very podcast.
Absolutely.
Column comes out on Tuesdays. Oh, gotta write this week's column. I always try to write the column for the last episode before I do another one because it will be in my head. And now I have messed that up. So after this, I'm gonna be writing. Well, I'm gonna go out to lunch with my brother, and then I'm gonna write the column.
I believe in you.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are you drinking over there?
I've got some tea that I brought the tea bag from home because I'm gonna be honest, I'm a bit underwhelmed with the tea options here at the office. Sometimes it's good, and then sometimes you're like, wow, this is not. It's
Sometimes it's a little pitch
taken.
through.
Yeah.
I asked that because it's a great segue to tell you can watch us.
You can.
Not only let us grace your ears, but also grace your eyes. I'm wearing a great Barbie sweater today.
Yeah.
Lizzie's wearing an amazing Mickey Mouse Christmas sweater.
I wear this a lot.
It's great.
I don't have a clothing budget for this show yet, so I just wear my clothes, and I feel like on our last episode I was talking about this. Like I just like to wear the same thing a lot.
That.
I have that sort of that's a personality trait that some people have. I like to wear the same thing.
It's the Daria of it all, which I appreciate.
I used to get harassed for it in middle school. I had these really cute short overalls, and my favorite shirt was my dad's. And my dad has told me at one point, if I see that shirt, I will throw it away because it was so threadbare.
Yeah.
It was like inappropriate. I was wearing overalls, so
Yeah.
But so I just wore that pretty much every day. Great outfit, so comfy, and people made fun of me.
I'm so sorry.
Sixth
I
graders.
won't make fun of you.
Thank you. Now I don't even care.
But if you want to see, even though Lizzy doesn't care, we do look cute.
We
and
do
you
look
can see us on the Oregonians. I always do that. I always say Oregon Live. The Oregonian/Oregon Lives YouTube channel, where there's a lot of great content, actually. But we do upload a video of this very podcast.
Yeah, I'm also kind of like broken out like a teenager, which has been going on for like a week and a half. I'm like, I don't know what's going
I've
on
also had what I would say is an unnatural amount of pimples for me.
Yeah, it's like, I always thought for a long time, I was like, at least by the time I turn 35, like maybe once I have a child, I won't have like teenager oily skin anymore. No, I still do.
We do
I'm
hit a
41.
second puberty. Women do.
Yeah.
Men do, but I think before
Interesting.
we do.
I've had it forever.
Yeah.
And anyway, enough about me. Do
We do have a question. Yeah, we do have a question from a reader.
If you want to give me skin
listener.
advice, feel free to send it in.
Yeah. And it's a good one. I think it's one we can both speak on. The fact that it has to do with a married couple. You're married.
I am.
And
True fact.
It has somebody who has anxiety, depression, and I have anxiety.
Perfect. This is going to be great for us.
Yeah, here we go. Says, Dear Lizzy.
That's me.
My spouse suffers from anxiety and depression. Sometimes when she's feeling especially down, she spends frivolously on little things, but also sometimes bigger things, like vacations. It often does little to alleviate her problematic feelings, but when she asks if it's okay to spend on something we don't need, it feels like if I say no, She'll think I am denying her a thing that will make her feel better, which has, in the past, led to arguments. What should I do? Signed, frugal but trying.
I just want to say right now that I did not write this question about myself. So if you're my husband listening, because I don't think I have clinically diagnosed anxiety and depression. Mm-hmm. I know I haven't been diagnosed. No, I don't. I definitely have anxiety sometimes.
Everybody
not
does,
very much
for sure.
Depression, but I get it. But I also have a problem with this. Mm-hmm. I definitely...
You subscribe to the little treat philosophy?
Oh, yeah. I like my husband. He's such a brave man. No, he's definitely the like budget brains behind the operation. Mm-hmm. And if it was up to me, I would do this kind of thing. Like, I don't feel good. Let's go on vacation.
Sure.
I've tried. Luckily, you know, like he's really pragmatic and like we're going to go on vacation soon, but we've been planning it for a year, you know, and also using credit card points, which I'm pretty proud of myself. Anyway, all I'm saying is I do feel a bit qualified to speak on the subject because I have this very issue. Mm-hmm. I do think if you share a bank account and you share finances, you are well within your rights to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a way to go about it that isn't, you know, that's thoughtful and caring. Like this writer is acknowledging that the wife, I don't know if it's a he or she, suffers from anxiety and depression. And, you know, maybe you can let some little things go. Like maybe you don't need to make a big deal out of little things, though. If it's like adding up a lot, then you might need to make a big deal out of little things. But I think, you know, there's something in here that's like this isn't really helping.
Correct.
You know, like what are some strategies that could actually help these feelings that the wife is feeling?
Probably therapy and pharmacology, from my experience.
Right. And at least you could start with therapy, or, you know, maybe even like, are there other things that she can do that, you know, make her feel good? Mm-hmm. Like that really do make her feel good? I mean, I honestly, to be fair, like I feel like when I feel really down in the midwinter, if I can plan a vacation, I do feel better. But what about planning it and not going on it, like not paying for it? Or even just like, I don't know, just like talking about it. So not just saying outright, like, absolutely not. We can't afford that. We cannot do that. But like talking it through and making her, both of you, sort of like responsible parties. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, one thing that my husband once said to me, I know that everything he says is off the record and sorry. Let's say, okay, not him, somebody else, you know, pointed out to me once that it really is hard to be the person who's always saying no. Yeah. And this letter writer is in that position of having to be the like bad guy and like say no all the time. And that sucks, you know, that's not fun. Maybe tell her that. Like, I don't want to have to be the cop, you know, I want to help you, but there's some things like maybe you set a budget for how much frivolous stuff you can buy in a month.
I was going to say that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. It's a great middle ground between absolutely not and buying something really frivolous that we don't need. Right. And if you don't have money in that budget, y'all are going to have to find out something. Like, ultimately, I'm very sympathetic to the anxiety and the depression. I've been through it. I'm heavily medicated. And sometimes you do. For me, I like to eat out if I'm not feeling well, because like the effort to think about food to make and then actually go make it is a real pain. So like I will spend money on eating out. Oh yeah. If it's not in your budget, then you're living beyond your means. This is a bigger issue than just like buying a little thing to make you happy, because sometimes it does, you know what I mean? Sometimes like a crappy mod pizza is great at the end of the day, or, you know, whatever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But like having someone else make food for you when you're like exhausted.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I understand the little like serotonin dopamine hit that you get from like little treats, whatever your version of little treat is. But if you're living beyond your means, like that is a problem, and you're creating a problem for your household, your family. And like
it's not going to help the anxiety and depression either.
It sure isn't. And also like at that point you're being a little selfish, and I understand that it's hard to put your head above the water and see that sometimes when you're really in the thick of it.
Totally.
Really relate to that. But ultimately, like you're gonna have to have a serious conversation with your partner about their spending if it really is an issue. I also think you have to decide, is it really an issue, or is it a behavior that you don't have, and you have financial stress, anxiety?
Exactly. You have some anxiety too.
Sure. Yeah. I think both, obviously.
And also you just don't want to be the bad guy. Like, I mean, I feel like, you know, there are things like a vacation, something expensive that I think you can be like, look, we just can't afford that right now. Is there something else that we could do that would make you feel better? You know, like maybe we can, you know, find a hotel in Portland for the night, you know, like I'm not trying to say that this isn't a real issue, because I think it is a real issue. We just like functionally cannot afford that.
Yeah. And is there something else that you could apply, maybe a chunk of the money that this person is spending on frivolous things to something that might aid her anxiety and depression? So like a craft class or a book club. I mean, you don't really spend money on a book club. You spend money buying books. And or like for me, yoga was one of the first things I ever used to manage my anxiety before I was medicated, and it helped a lot. Right. Some people have anxiety that can be helped by lots of different things, and maybe aren't interested in medication. So maybe start looking toward those avenues. Like maybe you join some sort of rec club or hiking club, you know, something that you could take that money and apply that, so she's spending time and maybe expelling some of that anxiety, or meeting with people who have like issues to her, or just new friends, you know, something like that.
Making friends, could
also be really helpful, and also make you feel involved. Maybe you both go to yoga. Maybe you both do the thing.
Or you could spend some money on therapy.
Yeah, I would say that also. I mean, I feel like my answer to everything all the time is go to therapy. Everybody should go to therapy.
Sure. And I made a promise to a letter writer early on that I wouldn't just say go to therapy, but and I'm not going to just say go to therapy on this, but I do also think go to therapy. Go to therapy. You know, like if she's really, really suffering from these things, you need to talk to her and say, I love you and I care about you and I want you to feel better. You know?
Yeah. And if you work like a job that provides you health insurance, or your wife does, there's a good chance that you can get some free therapy sessions through your healthcare. Most insurances do like 5 or 6, which is great. You get to test an in-network provider and get a feel for them without spending too much money. A lot of therapists work on sliding scales to help people be able to afford. So I know that can also be a financial burden, and like maybe suggesting a financial burden when they're talking about financial burdens isn't the best, but like the payoff of that is going to be much greater and long lasting if you get into the right therapist. You know, and they help you.
Totally. Well, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. That's a hard one. And it was a good question.
What's the kind of little treat that you like to really like indulge in?
Well, my real problem is books, that I buy books, and I feel like when I'm buying books, it doesn't count as buying things, which is doesn't make any sense. That's a real girl math. Yeah. I'm just like, well, it's a book. I mean,
it's for the
reading
betterment.
A book.
You're supporting an author.
Yeah, my brain. I mean, I use books as I can be like if I'm looking at my phone when Nona's around, I feel really guilty.
Sure.
I do it sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone does.
But when I'm reading a book and ignoring her, I'm like, this is actually good for her. Like I'm showing.
You're demonstrating good behavior.
Right. Like this is good for her.
Yeah.
So I just feel like books are my excuse. But I do spend too much money. I know that. I spent 3 times the food budget last month. And So this question is
way more expensive.
Oh yeah, it hits because I do. It's something I need to like work on myself. You know, sometimes I'm like, I'm giving advice, but am I taking my own advice?
Yeah.
I need to work on it. I do not, however. But you know what? I have been like, let's go on this vacation right now, and it's pretty much unfair to do that. I've realized to be like, and then upset about it, and it's like, I'm an adult, you know. My husband's my husband, not like my dad.
Yeah, I think that's really mature of you.
Well,
like, no, honestly,
let's see if I'm working
I
on
don't
it. Yeah.
think that I don't think not everybody can pull their heads out of their butts and kind of see that. And I know you mentioned that your husband said something to you about it, which is also great. I mean, this shows that obviously even when y'all are beefing, you're going to communicate, and that I think is extremely useful to this frugal but trying person who wrote in. Like, even though it probably will cause a beef, hopefully you guys can talk about it in a constructive way that leads to everybody feeling better. Right.
Sometimes you get in arguments when you're married.
Yeah.
Conflict happens. Yeah, it's really impossible to like love someone and live with someone, even if you didn't like, well, if you didn't like them, you probably get in fights too, but just like if you had a roommate for 10 years, you guys would have some fights.
Sure, it happens.
So it's just like, that's just how it is, and it's
just life.
But
I hope that your wife feels better.
Yeah.
And can find,
and I hope you get to go on some vacation.
And yeah, I hope that
I love vacation. It really does. It really makes me feel better to have a vacation planned. Yeah. And that's something such a privilege, like such a privileged place to be in too, I know. But literally anything. I'm like, okay, yes. Especially this time of year. This is a hard time of year for a lot of people.
It's a little bleak here in Portland. People are missing the sun. Yeah. But frugal but trying. Best of luck.
You know what? And exercise always helps me. Yeah. I can't be like, I went for a little jog this morning, and I feel great right now. So highly recommend that. Yeah. Even though I was like, why am I doing this? I hate it. But afterwards, I feel good.
That's a good one. Well, do you have a smash or pass?
Ooh, I do. We like to do smash or pass on this podcast, where smash is something we really are liking and pass is something we really aren't liking. Yeah, I made maybe the best dessert I've ever made yesterday.
Tell me more.
My daughter wanted s'mores. She just out of the blue said something about s'mores, or maybe my husband they were talking about it. Anyway, a while ago I also bought mini marshmallows, maybe for hot chocolate. Never used them, and so this was the idea, s'mores, and I was like, okay. So I looked at my favorite app, New York Times Cooking, just put in s'mores, and I found these s'mores blondies. Oh my God, Destiny! These were gone. They were gone very quickly. They're like this delicious, and part of the flour is replaced by graham cracker crumbs, and then because I love to experiment with different flours, I put not quite half almond flour and then white flour. So it was almond flour, white flour, and graham cracker crumbs in the blondies with which also had chocolate chunks in them. So you cook those, and obviously there's butter in there as well, and hella sugar. Yeah. And then on top, after they're cooked, you just cover the top mini marshmallows and more chocolate, and then you cook it. And I ate them at every different stage because I can't wait. Yeah. They were one of the things that you really can't eat right away because the marshmallow is so sticky. Like, they were actually, I think, best after I put them in the fridge for a little while.
Yeah, makes sense.
The texture, the flavor, they were so good. They were gone. I made them on Saturday. My brother and his kids came over for a little bit. Some other people came over. They had them, we ate half of them on Saturday, even though they were for Sunday. And people came over on Sunday for the Super Bowl, and they were gone.
Sounds amazing.
And a lot of them were inside of me, I have to say. So
you made them, so
yeah, I want to make them again. But on the other hand, it's like a cup of butter. So for me to eat a cup of butter in one day seems like, but they're so good.
You're maybe barking up the wrong tree in terms of butter slander, because I am Southern. So,
I love butter. Yeah. I mean, I think butter is amazing.
Yeah. That sounds amazing. My smash is going to be, as we briefly discussed, I had to cover the Super Bowl, which just means I have to witness it with my eyes and then write stories and also pull stories. We call it from the wire. Here's some journalism talk for you.
Behind the scenes.
Basically just, we contract with different like we contract with the Associated Press, which means we can take the Associated Press's stories, put it on our website. Obviously we say it's by the Associated Press, blah, blah, blah. So I had to keep up with that.
Yeah.
I'm really only in the Super Bowl for this year, Taylor Swift.
Of course. Yeah.
Normally the commercials and the halftime show. I'm that person. I make like a dip and I'm here to eat and enjoy things. So I watched the halftime show. I tried to say that Usher was a weird pick because he's not particularly relevant in the zeitgeist right now.
Right.
I got absolutely shit on for saying that.
Ooh.
By some of our coworkers who shall not be named, but are my direct coworkers. You're in the private chat, so you know who you are.
Usher is a millennial icon, and
absolutely, and he has so many bangers. I'm not saying that. He's also really hot still.
Yeah, when he took off his shirt, that wasn't terrible.
Yeah. So my smash.
Unlike some people taking off their shirts, which I've written about in the past, like Adam Levine.
Yeah.
Keep it on.
Put it back on. So my smash is the halftime show, but specifically when Alicia Keys stood up from behind the piano and served us body that we weren't ready for.
That red number.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Her beautiful makeupless face. And then the other part is when all of a sudden everybody was on roller skates, including
roller
us.
Skates.
That was amazing. More halftime roller skating.
High point. The sound was bad.
The sound got better on the roller skates, but I think it's because
they were probably lip syncing.
Was live.
Yeah.
Now he's on roller skates exerting. I mean, he's very fit.
Yeah. But the roller skates, and he was good at roller skating.
Yeah.
The dancing was good.
And so did Alicia Keys. People are shitting on Alicia Keys for her first note breaking.
Wow.
As if you could stand up there and sing like Alicia Keys. Give me a break.
Leave Alicia Keys alone.
For real. He sounded amazing, but the sound mixing, which is out of his control,
totally
wasn't great.
And it's not like a good, like, let's be fair. This is a show in a football field where the main act is football. Like, the sound is usually kind of bad. I didn't love the sound, but it was particularly bad. I have not been a huge fan. I guess last year I didn't write about the Super Bowl halftime show.
I did. That's
why. I haven't
Rihanna.
had it for a couple of years. Rihanna. Yeah. So I don't even know if I watched it, but man, I really didn't like Justin Timberlake and Adam Levine so bad. No. Such boring shows too. Like there was and even The Weeknd, I didn't love his show, but he was at least had more things going on.
The Rihanna one was exciting, and she announced her pregnancy. Very exciting.
Did she have any guests? Because I feel like Justin Timberlake, Adam Levine, and The Weeknd were just them. And for me, that just gets kind of boring.
She had so many dancers though.
Okay,
it was
that's good.
Very dynamic, and she also was up on a levitated platform.
Love it.
And came down. It was very dynamic. This one was really dynamic. The dancing was great. Usher and Alicia Keys sounded great. I'm a Lil Jon stan.
Okay,
I think he's a hilarious little gremlin, and I mean this in a loving way because he just pops up in songs and just says what he has to say and then just disappears. So he was dressed impeccably.
Yeah,
Lil Jon was, but Usher's first outfit questionable. Improved so much. He removed his shirt, not to objectify him, but
you know what? That's what we do.
I think he wanted us to look at him, and I was.
I think so too. I think you know what? He has worked on his body, and he wanted you to know.
He looks
and
great.
that's fine.
And he also released an album, so that put him back, I guess, in the zeitgeist. Haven't listened to it yet. Beyonce also released some music.
Yeah, that was a big thing. And Taylor Swift was there.
She sure was.
And
she looks great.
She's great.
She was there with Ice Spice, which was also great.
Yeah, and Blake Lively. Someone said Lana Del Rey was back there somewhere.
Oh, I didn't see her. That's great. Yeah, so that was my smash.
Okay.
I enjoyed the halftime show, even though I think they could have picked somebody more relevant. Would we have gotten as talented of a show? Hard to say. They could have picked somebody who had some current bangers out.
I would have said a Tracy Chapman, Luke Combs show would have been
just Tracy Chapman.
Just Tracy Chapman.
Tracy
she could
Chapman,
bring Luke Combs on if she wanted. Yeah. But you know what? I'll tell you my past, which is kind of always my past is football.
Yeah.
Football is so bad.
I'm here with you.
And I feel like I have probably said this on this show. It's almost unconscionable that we allow children to smash their skulls together.
I have likened it to the Coliseum, and I stand by that.
Yeah, I don't think it's good, and I think it's continually kind of depressing that this is the biggest. Can't we come up with another thing to all rally around? Can't we have a party for something else?
I
don't know.
But I agree.
And you know what? I love sports, and there was a time while I was watching this last night at the very end, I was like, I want to watch this. I want to see what happens. And so I get that, even though I was like, who gets the ball now at one point? sorry. I'm sorry to my husband.
I'm
because
not sorry.
everything is off the record. I know, but he just was like, "Are you kidding me?" And it's true. I've been watching football since I was like 15. I went to football games every Friday in high school. That was like the social event.
Yeah.
No clue what was happening on the field. No. What? You get like 3 chances to get 10 yards? Okay. Tough there, guys. Anyway.
Gun to my head, I wouldn't be able to tell you the rules of football.
No. Same here. So I was like, of course I don't know who gets the ball next. I don't even know how many points you get when you kick it through that field goal.
I forgot.
1, 2, 3?
Forgot what the 49ers were called, and they have SF on their helmets.
Yeah.
San Francisco, that I do know. But my roommate, again, asked, she was in the kitchen, like, doing dishes, and she was like, I was like, oh, they scored. And she said, who? I said, the not Kansas City. Because I just, like, blanked. And she was like, the 49ers? I said, sure.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
That's right. So I'm on the pass with you. I think so.
Yeah, that's your pass too?
No.
Or no, what's your pass?
No, I have one
pass.
Super Bowl related pass and then a local pass.
Okay.
And we can chat about the local pass. My Super Bowl related pass is, listen, I love the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift romance that's going on. I think it's great. I think she, not to like make too much conjecture about her personal life, but I think she's really a woman who's made to date like a meatball. And this man is a meatball.
Yeah.
And I say that with all the love in the world, just like a...
Who doesn't love meatballs?
Really well-meaning, large boy. You know, like I think she needs that in her life, right? She's done the intellectual thing, and I'm into men who can put me down intellectually. It never works out. Yeah. Taylor, that's my advice to you from this podcast.
Be smarter.
My past, however, though, is the inappropriate, unconscionable, aggressive behavior from Travis Kelce toward his little old man coach.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened because I don't care. I'm going to tell you I do not care. You can email me and yell at me about it.
D. Johnson at
his
Oregon,
head, like,
Oregonian.
Aside from the coach walking his mother out on the field and beheading her himself, there's no reason that Travis Kelce, something happened. He comes off the field. He starts not yelling, screaming, red face, vein out, screaming 2 inches from this man's face, and then gives him a little shove.
Oh, I missed this whole thing and I haven't read about it yet.
I was like, what's happening? What is he doing? Why is it, what? Because obviously, because I didn't understand what's going on in the game, but like, regardless of the game, here's a couple of things. You're obviously at the height of your professional footballing. You're at the Super Bowl for the second time in a row. You're very good at what you do. You're going to get paid a real boatload of money, regardless of what happens in this game. And I understand that, like, it's good for your team. I understand the commercialism of sports. I also understand the competitiveness. Like, you want to win. And maybe because I'm not a particularly competitive person, you could just never competitive me into a corner to talk to somebody who's probably kind of like a mentor to you, like shit.
Yeah.
It was insane.
I guess, like,
I got the ick so hard.
Since I didn't see it, I've seen like the picture of him yelling.
It's pretty
My
accurate. Thing
with that though is that, like, I guess I come back to football is bad. Like,
where
football
do you draw the
is
line?
about being aggressive.
Yeah.
And I mean,
but I
like,
hate that.
we can talk about like war, the military, you know, but, and I think it's the same kind of thing. It's like, you cannot stop it. Yeah. So if your whole thing, if the whole sport is a physical assault, then don't expect people to come off the field and stop the physical assault. Correct. You know what I mean? I mean, that's it's sort of baked in. You cannot expect, we as humans can't compartmentialize like that well.
I just feel like you should. If
no,
you're
you should, but I'm just saying.
No,
like,
I completely
understand
what you're saying.
Not Travis Kelce.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just think, counterpoint to that Travis Kelce is an adult man who should be in control of his feelings. Even if he's going to go and body other men to the ground for lots of money, which I appreciate. That's your job, and that's fine.
It's your job.
I don't agree with football on the whole, like Lizzy, but I get it. I get that that's what you do, and that's
you know,
fine.
we have lots of other podcasts for the Oregonian.
We sure do.
And I'm sure you can go find one that will talk about how football is good. So
whole sports team.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Okay.
You can read about it on BuzzFeed or literally quite anywhere else.
BuzzFeed
I saw it on BuzzFeed this morning.
News, huh?
Yeah, they sure do. They have won like Pulitzers.
I know, but they got rid of like their whole news staff.
I know.
RIP to like lots of news staffs everywhere.
I know. My local pass, and I think Lizzy will be invested in this because she loves to experiment with flowers, as she mentioned. Bob of Bob Red Mill died.
Oh, I know.
Bob's Red Mill, if you guys don't know.
that it was Bob's Red Mill flour that I was using, almond flour.
Pour one out for the homie.
I know.
Into the mixing bowl to make
almond flour.
Make your
I
blondies.
live on Bob's products.
I'm not, we've discussed this at length. I'm not from here, y'all. I'm from the South. So specialty flours are really expensive. Yeah. When they're not made in your backyard, like they are here in Portland. So I remember seeing Bob's Red Mill in the store and be like, oh, that's so like fancy. And then now that I'm diabetic, I don't eat a lot of stuff that has like flour, and like I'll go for like something with more protein, like an almond flour or whatever. He cared about the celiacs and the gluten-free people before it was cool. Yeah. He was an actual man. Bob, the guy on the package.
That's a guy.
Yes. Yeah. He looks just like that. And he would drive around Milwaukee, which is where I live, in his little red truck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Legend.
I love Bob's Red Mill, and I believe that I do experiment with flours because of Bob's Red Mill, because it's like you can go to Safeway. Yes. And the full, it's not New Seasons or Whole Foods, it's just Safeway. And it's like, there's a whole aisle,
it's so much more accessible because of him.
Yeah. And it's so interesting and fun to like put grains in your food that are different. And also, like, if you're looking for protein pancake mix, regular pancake mix, he has so many pancake mixes, which I have tried many of them, and I think they're all good. And there's one that is like a just add water. It's like amazing home style pancake mix. You know who you are. I could make pancakes and waffles. I have done it. Yeah. But then it's like, this is so easy and so good, and I feel good about it. Like, I feel like maybe partially the branding is very good because it's like, because I know
wholesome.
Yeah, I know where it's from. I know it can't be that bad.
Right. And he was 94.
94.
So he was quite up there. Yeah, congrats. That's quite an age to live. And he was just, he
also
just
makes you think
around here, like
those grains are probably pretty good.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's keep eating those grains.
So I said to my roommate, we got to go. There's a Bob's Red Mill store.
Yes, I want to go there. I've never been. Have you been?
We have to go.
Oh, let's go. I know. I
yeah.
Know.
And also you can get like you can buy like huge gluten-free cookies. Like, it's a cool place to go. And they have like a little patio. So when the weather's nice. Anyway, if you haven't been to the Red Mill store, you got to go. And shout out to Bob from Bob's. Yeah. Bob Moore.
Yeah. Wow.
R.I.P.
Yeah. R.I.P.
That's my past because it's a little sad, but he did leave behind a legacy. And I hope,
legacy of grains.
I hope his family's doing great.
Yeah.
Sorry for
you know
loss.
What? Like, we're all going to die. And honestly, the best you can hope for in this life is to die at 94 with a lot of people who are like, you did something good in this world.
I'm not even sure I want to live to be that old, but I respect the sentiment.
I think I do want to live to be that old, but but not if I'm uncomfortable. I don't know. It will be a little uncomfortable. Yeah. Like my grandma for like several years before she died was like, I'm so old. She was 92, almost 93 when she died.
That's old.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to Bob's Red Mill.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us today in the podcast, and we will be back next week.
We sure will. Hope you have a happy Valentine's Day.
And then after that, I think we might be off for a couple weeks,
but we sure are.
Well, there'll be episodes. Do not worry. Yeah. We have recorded some very fabulous podcasts for you.
Stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Listening to Why Though the Podcast. Subscribe for weekly episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, and don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you're looking for more Why Though, check out my column that comes out every Tuesday on OregonLive.com. You can support our local journalism by going to OregonLive.com/pod support.